My name is Joyce Varhola. I am a registered nurse. I have a bachelor's and a master's. I have been a nurse as of August, working full-time for 51 years. I graduated on the East Coast in a diploma school. And at that time, we were not even taught how to do IV therapy. So this is my story. I moved to a big university hospital in Cleveland, and there I worked in pediatrics, and at that time I had to learn how to do IVs on babies, and that was really quite exciting. I mean, scalp veins, etc., as most of you know. And then I moved on, and for a while I did, some basic nursing. And then the one hospital in the Southwest, when I moved out there, they had an IV team. And I was very interested in it because I'm a very good hands-on person. And I found that it just was very natural for me to do IV therapy. And I did IV therapy. I loved it. I trained people. I just felt it made a difference in the patient's outcome because I could be successful the majority of the time on the first attempt, and thus alleviating a lot of the pain that goes along with unnecessary sticking. In about 1992, I was working for a home health company, actually 1991, and they were having a midline class, and they encouraged me to go to it so that we could do the midlines in the home. So I learned how to do midlines in the home, and then the next year our unit manager had gone to, she worked for one of the reps here that is at, of course, this conference, and she did some teaching for them, and she brought back inserting PICCs to the area that I was in. I worked at the very, very first hospital that PICCs were implemented in. I was just about the very first nurse to do a PICC in the area that I was living. It was interesting. We had the backing of a doctor from the East Coast that was very much involved with nurses back there and very supportive of us and very helpful to us. And we struggled through like most people, but you got to understand, when I learned to do PICCs, I learned no ultrasound. It was all by palpation, and learned with just a straight kit, not even your microintroduction or Seldinger, but with a straight kit of like a 14 or a 16 needle. After a few years of doing that, and I learned on the HIV population because the doctors did not want to touch these patients. That's when this was just coming about. So we had a wonderful doctor that left us do anything that we wanted to for his patients to help them. And it was a real trial and error type of thing. And then we progressed. Finally, we got the Seldinger, a microintroduction kit. That was wonderful. We no longer had to cannulate a vein with a 14-16 gauge. We could then go down to a 20, then eventually a 22. But I liked the 20s for the cannulation of the veins. And then along came Mr. Ultrasound, and he was wonderful. And it's amazing the revolution or the evolution that has gone along in the years since I've started with not even know basically what IV therapy was in nursing. I mean, what I was told was, you don't do IVs, only the anesthesiologist does it. They're only on surgical patients. At that time, we didn't have IV antibiotics. We had IM penicillin and sulfa. And I mean, that makes me sound like I'm antiquated, but after 51 years of nursing, that takes me back a little bit. I was teaching an LPN IV class a number of years ago, and the group was just sort of sitting there. So I decided to add a little spice to it. So I told them that I was a roommate of Florence Nightingale's. And the staff, I mean, some of the people go, oh, what was she like? Was she like? And I said, just the epitome. Everything that you see in a book or any pictures, just going through, you know, the wards, just waving her little lantern. I said she was fantastic. Well, I went on that day and didn't think anything about it until I went home that night, and I was telling my husband about it, and it dawned on me, I never told them that I wasn't a roommate of Florence Nightingale's. So if they knew anything about Florence Nightingale, they would have had me dead and buried a long time ago, okay? So anyways, I have progressed and come into, then of course we've moved on to the ultrasound, and then of course some of the other newer equipment. Not only the vein finders that have we gone with, but we've also going with the technology that we don't even have to have the chest x-rays. And I can remember when I was going to this one hospital and I was told that we were going to be using this one product, and I said, I don't need that. I've put in 16,000 pics. Up to date, I've done 18,000 in adults and pediatrics. And I said, I don't need something like that. I know where my tip is. But once I started using this new technology, I love it, and I'm looking forward to some more of the technology that I've just witnessed and seen at the booths in the last 2 days. I also started my own company, inserting pics, within the valley that I am living in. I was the very first nurse to put a pic, have a business, number one, of inserting pics in extended care facilities, and the very first nurse to go out and do that in an extended care facility that was not a hospital setting. So it was an accomplishment. I've had that business for 16 years, and I don't do as much in it now because a lot of different doctors and people have gotten involved in it, and they've taken over a higher business and volume and offering different things that I didn't feel that I could do. I have been to AVA probably 14 years in a row, and each time I come, I have this little anticipation. I know that some of the classes and things that I will be going into is things that I've heard before. I do not feel that it hurts me to listen to it again. There's lots of little things that I have picked up, just maybe minor, but something to make me more, you know, feel that I can service better. I actually teach a class at the local community college in PICS, and I have taught or mentored probably at least well over 100 nurses in different facilities in the valley that I work in the Southwest. And they, you know, come back to me and they're very, very grateful. This has been about 5 different hospitals that I've been in and I've done this. So I feel each time that I am contributing, I'm contributing to patient care and patient safety, because now we have people that are qualified to do these things. And my husband said to me this time, he said, why are you going when you know you're probably going to retire? I said, well, number one, I enjoy it. And number two, I like to get the latest and greatest information that I can, and the only place to get that is at an assembly of people like this where we can network and talk. And I said, I still want to be able to do some teaching, even if I do retire, to be able to share what I know on a thumb drive and to everybody, so that they don't have to start off where I did with that big old honker of a 16 gauge. They can start with the new technology, and they don't have to cause the patients all the discomforts that possibly I did in the learning process. I'm there for them, and I feel that this is what I can leave behind me. I can't take this with me, and I do truly feel that we, as a more mature nurse, should be willing to share our knowledges and experiences with everybody that we can. The last patient that I did before I came here for this conference, I was, the plugs didn't work quite right, and I had turned the plug in earlier, but I needed a red plug for what I was doing, and I ended up crawling under the bed. And to get to this plug, I'd already moved the bed one time, and the wife was there, and she was like 18 years younger than me. And she comes back in afterwards, and she says, "Can you tell me what you take?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" She says, "For the end of your day after 12 hours, you have all this energy." And she says, she's got to be my age. And I smiled and said, "I'll tell you how old I am, but I don't tell too many people." And so I did, and she dropped her teeth and said, "Wow." And she says, "Why are you still doing nursing?" I says, "Ever since I was a child, I wanted to be a nurse, and I love teaching, and I feel that I still have something to offer. And when I don't feel that I can offer this, if my hand isn't steady or my mind isn't clear enough to do it, just like Dr. Hickman said, then I won't be doing it, because I never ever would do anything to endanger a patient." So I do not know how much longer I'll be working, but at this moment, I hope if I don't, I may spend a little time teaching and sharing my knowledge with others. Thank you.